Hey, quick heads up. Turn on subtitles if you like to follow along. Did you know that dogs without proper mental stimulation are up to 3 times more likely to show anxious behaviors like pacing, whining, destructive chewing? Wild, right? Now imagine adding a muzzle to that mix without a way to reward or reassure them. So let's talk about a simple idea that's changing that for a lot of pups. A treat hole in a dog muzzle. It's exactly what it sounds like. A small opening that lets me deliver treats, water, the ability to deliver a quick, lickable reward without ever having to take a muzzle off. These might seem like small things, but for so many dog owners, they represent a massive breakthrough. If you've ever managed a dog who struggles with reactivity, a dog who scavenges for anything and everything on the ground, or a pup who gets overwhelmed with anxiety at the vet, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Having the right tools can be a complete game changer, turning stressful situations into manageable training opportunities. But to understand why this is so important, we first need to dig into the core of the problem. So, here's the fundamental challenge we're facing. We often focus on our dog's physical needs, walks, food, a comfy bed. But we sometimes forget that dogs aren't just physical creatures. They're thinkers. They are incredible sniffers, with a sense of smell thousands of times more powerful than our own. They are natural pattern finders, constantly scanning their environment for cues and learning what predicts what. Their brains are wired to solve problems, to work, and to engage with the world around them in complex ways. When they don't get consistent opportunities for these mental workouts, their stress levels begin to rise. Think of it like a stress tank or a stress bucket. Every dog has one. Small stressors, a loud noise, a strange person walking by, add a little bit of water to the tank. But a lack of fulfilling activity? That keeps the tap running, slowly filling it day by day. Activities like long, meandering sniff walks, engaging food puzzles, and fun training games are crucial because they help drain that tank. They give a dog's brain a productive outlet, satisfying their instinctual needs and building their confidence. Without these outlets, the tank fills up fast, and eventually, it overflows. That overflow is when we see problem behaviors. This anxiety shows up as barking at everything that moves, lunging on the leash at other dogs or people, shredding the couch out of frustration, or even completely shutting down and refusing to engage at all. These aren't signs of a bad dog. They're signs of a stressed dog whose needs aren't being fully met. Now, this is where safety tools like muzzles come in. And let's be clear, muzzles are an essential, responsible part of many training plans. But traditional, more restrictive muzzles, while important for safety in some situations, can inadvertently add another layer of difficulty. They can make it harder to communicate effectively with our dogs. Imagine you're out with your reactive dog. They see their trigger, another dog, but this time they look at you instead of reacting. That's a brilliant choice. You want to say, "Yes, that's it. Hey buddy, you're doing great." The most powerful way to reinforce that choice is with an immediate, high-value reward. But if I can't reward those calm choices in the precise moment they happen, I lose critical training windows. The connection between their good choice and the reward gets lost. Plus, there are the practical considerations. On a warm day or during a stressful vet visit, a dog needs to be able to pant to regulate their temperature. And without a way to sip water, we risk dehydration, which only adds more physical stress to an already challenging situation. This is the puzzle we need to solve. How do we ensure safety while also providing enrichment, effective training, and basic comforts? Now, let's talk about the single most important feature for turning a muzzle from a simple safety device into a powerful training tool. Enter the treat hole. For years, one of the biggest challenges with muzzle training was the inability to effectively reward our dogs in the moment. The muzzle was a barrier, but with a properly designed opening, that barrier is gone. I can now mark good behavior with a verbal yes or a click and deliver that high-value reward instantly without ever needing to remove the muzzle. This is a complete game changer for behavior modification. The applications are endless. Imagine this scenario. Your dog sees a trigger across the street. Maybe it's another dog, a person on a bike, something that would normally cause a reaction. But through our training, your dog looks at that trigger and then chooses to disengage and look back at you. That's a critical moment, a golden opportunity for reinforcement. With the treat port, you can immediately say yes and pay them for that choice. Treat. Or think about a high-stress environment like the vet's office. The dog is walking calmly on a loose leash through the lobby, ignoring the other pets and strange smells. That's incredible self-control. Treat. By rewarding these small, calm moments, we're actively changing their emotional response to the situation. We're creating a powerful positive feedback loop where the dog learns, keeping my cool makes good things happen, even with this thing on my face. It reframes the entire experience. But the magic of the treat port doesn't stop with solid treats. That tiny opening also lets me use lickable rewards, which have their own unique set of benefits. Think about a squeeze of wet food from a reusable tube, a bit of plain yogurt, or some goat milk. You can even use a smear of xylitol-free peanut butter. The act of licking is inherently calming for dogs. It naturally slows their breathing, lowers their heart rate, and encourages calmer, more relaxed body language. This is incredibly useful for situations that require your dog to be calm for a longer duration. This also opens up other possibilities. It supports hydration on hot days, allowing you to offer water or a pet-safe electrolyte drink without removing the muzzle. It turns waiting time into training time. Instead of your dog getting bored and antsy while you wait for an appointment, you can give them a long-lasting lickable reward to keep them occupied and calm. It transforms the muzzle from a passive restraint into an active, engaging enrichment tool and keeps it from ever feeling like a dead end. So, what's the result of all this work? It's a dog who sees the muzzle not as a punishment, but as a predictor of good things. It means more confidence for both you and your dog, less conflict on walks, and ultimately, safer and more enjoyable outings for everyone. You're not just managing risk, you're actively building a more resilient, confident, and well-adjusted companion. Let me share a story that really brings all these concepts to life. It's one of my favorite transformations because it shows how a simple tool, when used with patience and positive reinforcement, can completely change a dog's world. This isn't about a quick fix. It's about building a new emotional response, layer by layer. The dog I want to tell you about is a wonderful shepherd mix named Nori. When I first met Nori, her owners were at their wits' end. Walks were a nightmare. She was incredibly reactive, meaning she would lunge and bark at other dogs, cyclists, even strollers from a block away. She was also a super scavenger, a behavior that was not just annoying, but dangerous. She'd hoover up anything from the ground in a split second, which had led to a few emergency vet calls. And speaking of the vet, those visits were pure misery for her. She was so nervous she would tremble, pant, and shut down completely, making examinations incredibly difficult for everyone involved. For her safety and the safety of others, a muzzle was non-negotiable, especially to manage the scavenging risk. But here was the problem. Her previous experiences with a restrictive muzzle had been negative. The moment it came out, she'd freeze. Her body would go rigid, her eyes would get wide and glassy, and she would just stand there, completely shut down. This wasn't acceptance. It was a sign of immense stress. We couldn't build on a foundation of fear. So we started over from square one. We switched to a comfortable, well-fitting basket-style muzzle, specifically one with a small treat port at the front. This was our game changer. It allowed her to pant, drink, and most importantly, take high-value rewards. Our new goal was to change her entire association with the muzzle, from a scary object to a predictor of amazing things. We started incredibly small. We didn't even try to put it on. The first step was just rewarding her for looking at the muzzle. Then, a treat for a gentle nose touch to the outside. We used a smear of cream cheese right at the port. Soon, she was pushing her nose the muzzle to get the treat. We built duration slowly, treat for wearing it for just 2 seconds, then 5, then 10, all while delivering a steady stream of praise and delicious rewards. Once she was comfortable, we took it outside. The first time a bike passed, we marked and paid. She looked at the trigger and immediately got a reward through the port. The change was remarkable. In that first week, you could see the shift in her demeanor. She went from that stiff, glassy-eyed dog to one whose eyes were bright and curious. The muzzle was no longer a threat. It was the magic treat dispenser. By week 2, a new behavior emerged. After noticing a trigger in the distance, instead of preparing to react, she was checking in with me on her own, looking up as if to say, "Did you see that? Where's my payment?" This was huge. She was choosing engagement with her handler over reacting to the environment. By week 4, we had a breakthrough moment. We walked past 2 dogs on the same sidewalk. There was no lunging, no barking. Her body was soft, her tail was neutral, and she was calmly taking gentle licks of squeezable cheese through the port. She was aware of the dogs, but she was focused on the positive experience she was having with her owner. The muzzle didn't just prevent bad things from happening. It became the very tool that allowed us to do the training that changed her story. It gave us a safe way to manage the environment while we actively rewired her brain, turning scary situations into predictable, rewarding learning opportunities. It empowered her to make better choices, and it rebuilt her owner's confidence. That is the true power of this process. Bottom line, dogs need mental reps, and a treat hole turns a muzzle from can't into can learn. Reward access equals calmer choices, better focus, and happier, safer adventures. I want to hear your wins and worries. Drop a comment about your experience with muzzles. Check out my next video on simple training games you can do in 5 minutes. If this helped, hit like, subscribe, and share. Join for perks like custom video requests, live Q&A, and monthly chat sessions. Tap the join button, send a super thanks if you want to boost the series, and let's grow this into a full training library together.